So in order for man to understand why they're on the planet, in order for man to understand how to please God, in order for man to understand why we are here, they have to go back to the original intention of why God created the planet in the first place. When he created the planet in the first place, he built the planet first, everything, and he created man, and after building the garden, and he put man in the garden that he created. And he put man in the garden for a purpose. He said, now work the garden, manage it, tend to it, right? And then be fruitful and multiply. He gave us dominion over it. So a lot of people, as we learned before, a lot of people like, if God is real, how could there be blind people? How could there be all this violence? How could there be lame and death and all this greed and filth on the planet? Well, if God, he placed his word higher than his name. One's name is who they are. He placed his word higher than who he is in regards to his covenant. He would never cross or break his word. When he says something, it must happen. And when he said, I gave you, man, dominion over the earth, that means all responsibilities of this planet is in man's hand. Man is the one who's responsible for the death and the blindness and the muteness and the disease and the greed and the violence and the feuds that go on this planet, because he gave us dominion over it. But his hand is stretched out to us because he wants to partner with man in order to usher in heaven's government, heaven's constitution, and heaven's way, which is miraculous. He personified this when he manifested himself into flesh and walked the earth, and everyone who came before him was changed. So whoever touched heaven through Christ experienced heaven, and they walked in perfection. Water was turned into wine when they didn't have enough wine. So this is secular earthly things as well. When people were hungry, he fed 4,000 and 5,000 men, not including women and children. He allowed the lame to walk, the blind to see, the mute to speak. He rose the dead. He cast out demons. If they had a cancer, it was gone, and they walked in perfection. So a lot of times what religion does is it allows you to be content in your state. It's used by man to control man. You look at the Pharisees, the reason why they didn't want Jesus to be heard was because they wanted their control over the masses. And they are still exercising religion in the same way to this day, using it as a mechanism to control the people. Go to my church, not his church. This denomination is the only denomination that's saved. And they do this in order to control. This is why we are not of a religion. We're not religious, and we're not of a religion. The true context of religion comes from kingdom, which teaches us that we shall use the kingdom wealth to take care of the widows and the fatherless. So if a father is gone and his home is left desolate, and the wife doesn't work and the children are there hungry, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So now the children are clothed, the children are fed, and the wife is part of the commonwealth. But this has nothing to do with religion. It just shows that the kingdom supplies. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? And this is, for me, and I believe it should be for you as well, exciting times. Why? Because in darkness, the smallest light shines so bright that you can see that light for miles. So even if your faith is small, like a mustard seed, the kingdom is going to shine, and the audience will see for miles the glory of God. Now, if your faith is great, you'll do even more. You're going to shake nations. Matthew 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the world, in the whole world, as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. What does that mean? So he's showing you that the end will not come until this gospel of the kingdom of heaven will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations. What is a testimony? A testimony is when you go through a test and God gets you through some sort of trial and you testify about a test that you passed that was miraculous solely by the hand of God. You go through a test, and unless God's hand intervened, you would not have succeeded. But miraculously, God got you through. So you testify to all nations, and then the end will come. Christ is not coming until the gospel of the kingdom is preached as a testimony to all nations. What does that mean? That means every nation around the world, testimonies of individuals of the kingdom are going to talk about the miraculous things that heaven has done for them that everybody else couldn't do. This is why it's called miraculous. It was a miracle. Heaven moved Daniel to do something that's illegal on this land in order to establish heaven's plans. They put out a decree that if any man were to worship another god, it's illegal. Anyone you worship except for the king, it's illegal. And the end result is death. And Daniel still worshiped and was still praying to God 3 times a day, seeking for strategies from heaven. So heaven's government superseded this earth's government. And the kingdom of heaven will allow Daniel to win. Heaven's favor is going to be on you in order for heaven to have its way. So if you hear the Spirit of God telling you something that is somehow going up against your morality, and your morality as citizens would come from a religion or laws of land, seek out the word of God and seek out the Spirit of God and the Spirit of God, and keep this at the forefront of your heart, this message. And the Spirit of God individually in your own unique situation will minister to you. So if you are of the kingdom of heaven, you are automatically an enemy to this world's governments. And if you're an enemy to this world's government and your best interests are not in your favor from their perspective, and again, their enemy is heaven, heaven is going to call you to do things that are contrary. Don't let the deception hold you back from doing what God is calling you to do. So Christ is not coming back until the kingdom of heaven is tested. Christ is not coming back until the world, which in this context is the hearts of man, see that heaven has passed the test. To the hearts of man all over the world, all the nations see that heaven has been tested and always has been victorious. Big pharma can't touch God. Governments can't touch God. Industries and institutions can't touch God. Christ is not coming back until the world, the nations, see that heaven has been tested and has won. It'll be tested. You're going to go through the same circumstances of everybody else, and they're going to yield one result, and you will yield another result because it was tested, and heaven always comes out on top. So as long as you walk out the fullness of righteousness, your end result will be different than theirs. And then they're going to ask, how? And you look up and you testify. And it just goes on and on and on. Testifies until it infects the whole planet. Then Christ will come. Christ is not coming until your life changes and you testify about it.